The Shark Deck.
I'll discuss the Super Bowl tomorrow. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. You may have seen a promo for Roseanne Barr's new special that's on Fox Nation today. She spoke to the LA Times. I'll have a couple minor spoilers for the special here. Sounds like she's not too happy with the world. The LA Times covered the beginning of the special, saying Roseanne is dressed in Western-flavored attire and ripped jeans. She wastes little time in the special before revisiting the firestorm. Now, time out. As I was putting together today's podcast, I was trying to remember why we had canceled Roseanne, and I couldn't remember, but the LA Times reminded me there was a firestorm that erupted following Roseanne's tweet referring to former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett as offspring of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes film franchise. All right, now I remember. The Times writes, ignoring Roseanne's pleas to go on The View or another show to apologize, executives abruptly axed the top-rated reboot of Roseanne and fired her. In the special, she makes snarky references to Hillary donors and allusions to conspiracy theories about the baby blood-drinking Democrat committee. She says, I'm not going to let rich, privileged a-holes win. Quoting Roseanne, they denied me the right to apologize. Oh my God, they hated me so badly. I'd never known they hated me like that. They hate me because I have talent, because I have an opinion. Even though Roseanne became their number one show, they'd rather not have a number one show. During the initial call, I told them I thought Jarrett was white. I said I'd go on my show and explain it. They wouldn't let me. They decided I was a liar in my apology. Now, this next part's interesting to me and probably to you as a listener of the podcast. They didn't do it to anyone else in Hollywood, although they always throw in Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K. Well, Louis C.K. did lose everything, but he committed an actual offense. The LA Times threw in an editor's note. C.K. admitted in 2017 that he repeatedly did stuff in front of women associates, and his FX show Louis was canceled. Back to Roseanne. And Dave Chappelle was protected by Netflix. Another editorial note. Chappelle has sparked criticism and protest for his jokes aimed at transgender people, most recently in a special The Closer. Roseanne, I'm the only person who's lost everything, whose life's work was stolen by people who I thought loved me, and there was silence. There was no one in Hollywood really defending me publicly except for Monique, who's a brave, close, dear friend. All right, Roseanne, do you ever watch The Conners? No. I just can't bear it, so I don't. When they killed my character off, that was a message to me, knowing that I'm mentally ill or have mental health issues, that they did want me to commit suicide. They killed my character, and that was all to say thank you for bringing 28 million viewers, which they've never had before and will never see again, because they can kiss my butt. Roseanne is excited to be back doing comedy. She said, I already want to do another special. I want to go further in depth than the first one. Once I started back writing comedy, I couldn't stop it. I wrote about 4 hours of material. Now I've got so much material, it's hard to carve down. I want to talk about what it's like to work in the creative arts in Hollywood and how crazy it is. Her new special's on Fox Nation. Marc Maron's special debuted over the weekend on HBO Max. A lot of Marc Maron press out there. I'll probably have a Maron story every single day this week. This one from IndieWire. Maron revealed that he had been offered a job by failed streaming service CNN+. Remember that one lasted about 3 weeks, maybe? Not exaggerating. Maron was talking about during the pandemic, after the death of his girlfriend Lynn Shelton, he started doing Instagram Lives on a daily basis as part of the grieving process. Maron said, it was just me kind of mumbling around, doing stuff around my house, ranting or raving about this, experiencing grief. People were watching it, and a lot of people got a lot out of it. I got a lot of peculiar fans from that, but it did engage me with an audience on a daily basis to the point where CNN offered me, on their defunct streaming service, a lot of money to do it on the air. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. Thank God I didn't. But I knew that I needed to engage my voice that was performative, and that's how I did it. Brian Posehn has a new special. This one came out on YouTube on Friday. Distractify caught up with Brian, and this one is called Posehn Non Grata. Love it. Brian wrote the entire special except for one joke during COVID, but he had little chance to test it out before filming it. He told Distractify, I used to have this great room and it was shut down before COVID. It was called Meltdown. It was a room in the back of this comic book shop, which was already my favorite comic book shop in LA. And they started doing stand-up. That became my favorite place to go to try material because they were my people. And even if they weren't paying to see me that night, it would fit. And I could kind of judge the material better than I would at the Comedy Store. He talked about punching up and punching down. He said, I always just punch myself. I'm a total self-deprecating comic, and that's just what I'm comfortable with. He says he can tell where you recognize him from before you even walk up to him. Comedy guys that look like me know me from comedy. I have fans that are bearded and bespectables, and they'll come up and go, dude, you wrote Deadpool? Metalheads know me for the metal stuff. And then people covered in tattoos are Devil's Rejects fans. Devil's Rejects, a 2005 movie. Brian Posehn played Jimmy. Posehn Non Grata on YouTube. Vulture has a list of the upcoming Daily Show guest hosts. Still a weird list. Sarah Silverman this week. Hassan Minhaj, who I have $1 on to be the winner at the end of this. He'll do the week of February 27th. Marlon Wayans, March 6th. Cal Penn, March 13th. Al Franken, who has less of a chance of getting the gig than I do. He'll host week of March 20th. John Leguizamo, March 27th. Really weird. And as Vulture points out, when does Roy Wood Jr. get his chance? Oh, this next story is so much fun. Saturday Night Live has been trying to get Prince Harry to host the show. As the writer on the daily royal family podcast Palace Intrigue, please have Prince Harry host Saturday Night Live. He apparently was in serious talks to host the show before the release of his book Spare. A source said, I know that Harry was all in. He was really serious about doing it, and it would have been great fun as promo for the book. SNL producers have been after Harry for a while. Everyone on the show was really into the idea, and people would have definitely tuned in. Amen to that. Another insider said there's always lots of names in the mix, but Harry was definitely a name being discussed. I was curious what a Harry-hosted SNL would sound like. I went to the chatbot, the GPT chat thing, and I asked it to type in a Prince Harry SNL monologue. I don't do any sort of Prince Harry impression, but here's what the chatbot spit out. Hello, New York. How are you guys doing tonight? It's great to be here on Saturday Night Live. I mentioned that at that point the crowd cheers, right? It's my first time hosting, so I'm a bit nervous, but I think I'm ready for the challenge. So I heard that in America, people are obsessed with the royal family. Is that true? The script says, pause for laughter. Well, I hope you don't expect me to wave at you or anything. I'm here to do comedy, not royalty duties. Speaking of my family, have you heard about the new royal baby? Yeah, it's me. I'm the new royal baby. You know what they say, once a prince, always a prince. But in my case, I'm also a duke, a son, a husband, a dad, a philanthropist, and a fellow with a great sense of humor. I mean, just look at my outfit tonight. And let me tell you, it's not easy being a prince. People always expect you to be perfect, to have the right answer, to be the life of the party. I'm human too. I have bad days. I even have a dad bod. And at that point, he would go, and enjoy our musical guest, whoever, and then we'd go to commercial. I thought the chatbot did a good job there. If you enjoy royal family stuff, follow the podcast Palace Intrigue, wherever you get your shows. The Advocate caught up with Jeff Foxworthy. He said he struck a deal with his relatives years ago concerning them being part of the jokes. Jeff said, they'd come back and go, I heard you were talking about us last weekend. And I said, I can't help it. I'm going to talk about you. But in return for talking about you, I'm going to take you on a fabulous vacation. And then you take them on vacation and you get 15 more minutes of material. And so it became an endless loop I could never get out of. I've noticed in a lot of recent Foxworthy interviews, he points out the you might be a redneck stuff was only 5 minutes out of his act, even at the height of that particular bit's popularity. That is correct. As for doing new material versus old material, he said the audience is kind of split. Like some people just want to see new stuff, but some people want to hear you do certain things that are their favorites. Foxworthy said the new stuff is always the fun stuff for me to work on. My brain only holds about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So if I start working on new stuff, I have to flush the old stuff, which is a really sad moment knowing you got a 20-minute bit that gets giant laughs and you let it go. But there's only so much room in the attic. Will Jeff Foxworthy retire? Because Ron White and Bill Engvall recently retired, and Foxworthy said, I think about that because I watched Tom Brady the other night, and I'm like, oh, buddy, you should have retired. Even in the early days of it, I used to tell my wife, don't let me be the old guy that's not funny anymore that's up there doing it. And if you're in Cleveland, see if you can track down the Secret Society Comedy Show. It's a weekly late-night show. But there's a twist. The venue changes every week. The event's co-founder David Horning said that lends itself to the air of secrecy and an easier commitment for the venues. The loose after-show nature of the Society's weekly meeting provides local comedians the chance to work out new material, kind of like the Comedy Cellar or the Comedy Store. Horning said, it's not original to those cities, but it's original to Cleveland. We wanted to bring big city comedy to Cleveland. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow. Did you know you can name a cockroach after your ex-lover and have it fed to the animals at the zoo? Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with 5 Good News Stories. It's a podcast twice a week where I tell you 5 good news stories, 5 fluffy stories. I just want to make you smile to start your day. I can tell you about a cat and a rabbit that fell in love, or I can tell you how porta potties are about to be a lot less horrible. What kind of show is this? It's called 5 Good News Stories. The number 5 Good News Stories. Follow it, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. 5 Good News Stories.